Hello everyone, welcome to GameTech UK, and this video, which is a look around the FIA European Truck Racing game, brand new out on the PC, Xbox and PlayStation 4. It's out in August on the Switch as well. I'm going to be just showing you through the game. I've had the game for about a week now, been playing it mostly on PC, but the game is identical on whatever platform you get. So I'm just going to take you through a few of the features in case you are thinking of buying it, and let you know what it's like to drive these trucks, these 5-ton trucks, 1,000 horsepower vehicles around some of the best tracks in the world. So let's go and have a look. So first up, let's have a look through the options. So we go into options. We've got assist and all the usual stuff here. You can and really do want to go manual with these trucks as well. It's great feeling the actual vehicles slowly change gear because they're such monsters as well. One thing I will say, this is a very, very different driving game to something like Formula 1 or Gran Turismo. It's very slow paced because they're so big and cumbersome. Even changing gear, it's not like changing gear in a Formula 1 car. Everything is very slow placed and precise, and I do like that about it. But I would go manual in the transmission. In the HUD, you can obviously change to kilometers or miles per hour. There's loads of the usual stuff you can turn on and turn off. Through video, there doesn't seem to be any option for resolution or graphics, and I'm not sure if it's running at 4K. I wouldn't like to absolutely say it is. I mean, all we've got there, it says configure window style and resolution, but there isn't any resolution option. You go into display and all you've got is split screen. That's all you've got. Post processing, you've got motion blur. So I don't know why they are saying resolution, because it doesn't seem to be any Pro or maybe Xbox X optimization. I'm not sure on that one. I need to find out, but I'm not sure if it's running in 4K. Then we've got controls, and it works out the box with all Thrustmaster wheels. Thrustmaster put a tweet out a little while ago saying that every single wheel is plug and play, so that's good to know, and I'm sure it is with the Logitech as well. Sound, obviously I'll turn the music down. The music is a bit thrashy, but it's totally fine, and there you can delete your save data and reset your campaign if you want to. So there's plenty to do on the single player side of things, the solo side. The first thing to do once you get the game is to do licenses, and these are quite a funny mix actually of quite easy and quite demanding. Some of these are up to Gran Turismo 1 and Gran Turismo 2 level of getting it right, and there's a couple in that are really, really hard. One of them is the one where you have to keep your brake temperature between a certain temperature. The rest are quite easy, you can breeze through them, but I was stuck on a couple of them for quite a while, because there is a mechanic in this game. It's the circle button on PlayStation, and that is you can squirt water on your brakes to keep them cool. So if you're heading towards a corner and you're cooking your brakes, you can squirt water on them, which is obviously what you can do in the real racing championship, which I wasn't aware of. And it also puts out a cool effect. If you use your look behind, you can actually see the water squirting out the back, and as you're coming up to a fast corner and you see all your opponents braking, you can see them squirting the water on the brakes as well. So that's all done really, really well. There's 2 championships you can take part in, the European Championship and the World Championship as well. I'm not sure why the game is called the European Truck Racing Championship when you can do a World Series. I'm not sure about that. I know it's not out in North America until August, so maybe the American version maybe is going to be called the World Series. I'm not really sure, but you can take part in both, and obviously you've got the European tracks or you've got the American tracks. It's got Laguna Seca in there as well, and Fuji. It's some real nice tracks in there. And the campaign has got certain story elements. The idea is that you can check out contracts, choose the one, you get reputation. The better reputation you get, the more valuable contracts. The more valuable the contract, the higher the requirement to finish within the race. You've also got to gain enough money and experience points to pay your team as well. So the campaign looks fully fleshed out, and also there is parts and tuning, but you have to finish a full season. Let's have a look at the seasons. So this is the calendar within your championship. So some of these will just be practice sessions, some will be race weekends of practice, qualifying and racing as well. When setting up your single player campaign, you can change all what we expect to change within a racing campaign. You can do race length as well, so 100% will be the full number of laps, 75% will be 25% fewer laps. So a bit like Formula 1, you can do a shorter campaign if you want to as well. The AI difficulty and the assists, you can do full damage or no damage. The driving line, obviously you want that off, and you can set whether you want your transmission and clutch to be manual or semi-automatic. Over a multiplayer, quite refreshingly, especially for the console, you have got split screen. So if you want to play this with a friend on your couch, you most certainly can. You can go into quick race, which will just chuck you anywhere, or you can create your own multiplayer lobby. Once you're hosting a multiplayer lobby, you can change loads of stuff in here. Obviously, from the lap count, you can decide if you want to do qualifying or not. You can decide on the penalties, assists, the overheating brakes. Now, as I said, you know, there is a mechanic in the game that if you're overheating the brakes, you can press circle to squirt water on them. In a way, that can get annoying, especially the voiceover. As you're coming up to every corner, if you don't press it at the right time, you get a female voice saying, "Don't forget to cool your brakes down." You can turn that off if you want. I'm undecided on that, whether I like that feature and whether when I host multiplayer matches, we're going to have overheating brakes. I would like another option. Overheating brakes, yes or no. Voiceover reminder, yes or no. I'd like to take the voiceover reminder out, but leave the overheating brakes on. It's a good mechanic, and it's something else to think of, especially if you're racing competitively. But I think it also looks cool as well. When your competitors are heading up to the corner in front of you, and you can see they're overshooting, they're braking hard and using the water as well, so it all squirts out and, you know, cloud of water and that water mist. I think it looks really, really good. So I'm undecided on that, of when we go multiplayer, if we keep that in. Right, let's show you the game in action. Laguna Seca in the wet. I don't think there's rain as a mechanic. I think it is just a wet condition, which is totally fine. You've still got the windscreen wiper. I don't mind that at all. Now we're going to go up to the first corner, and you'll be able to see the mayhem. Look at all the lights reflecting. Graphically, it's lovely, especially on the PlayStation as well. I mean, it's not as nice looking as it is on the PC, obviously, but the PlayStation does a really, really good job of the amount of trucks, and the detail as well. When we get up close to some of these trucks, you'll be able to see the detail is immense. Now that's the constant verbal reminder from that lady telling us to always keep our brakes cool, and it gets a bit old after a while. I wish we could turn that off. The close racing that we're certainly going to be having in my community is going to be fantastic. It really is. Let me just show you the brake effect on the look behind. So that's the look behind, and if you can see the furthest aisle in, it says water and there's a blue mark. As we press circle, that goes down and you can disperse water onto your brakes, and it actually visually comes out. And that's where I was saying, you imagine all them opponents in front of you, all them opponents in front of you doing that. It can look quite spectacular. So Le Mans circuit in the daytime, just to want to show you as much as I possibly can about the game. Different truck as well. So we're going back to the steering wheel view. One thing that I don't like about the steering wheel view is the fact that the animation in game doesn't seem to match at all with what's going on my actual steering wheel, and it can be quite off-putting. So actually I think I've chosen, there you can see the helmet cam looking quite good actually. I do like the helmet cam, even though it takes out a little bit of the detail of the actual truck. I think it's quite effective, you know. I do like it, but I think I'm probably going to go with that view, which is right. You can see all the dust there. The dust is pretty good. Let's see if we can catch some of the water coming out to keep the brakes cool. So I've got manual for my gears, and I do recommend doing that. Look at look at the wing I've got on the outside. Let's go to the outside view as well. These are some of the other views that we've got. The AI does like to spin off quite a lot as well, leaving these spectacular scenes. Look at this, look, oh my god, that looks fantastic. But for me, it's probably that view. That would be the view that I will have. So you can see all the water coming out, all the water being sprayed out now. Oh. Also, if you go, let's do it now actually. Let's pick a corner. Let's go up here. So what I'm basically showing you is that these trucks over a 5 or 10 or 15 lap race will chew up the terrain, and all the tyre tracks actually stay there as well. So we'll be able to see that on the way round, hopefully. But it is, let's show you a bit of the actual racing. So I'm 7th at the moment. And the thing about this game is you don't really chuck these trucks around. You drive them correctly through the right apex and through the right racing line. And the more I drive this game, it's almost really showing me the right way to take a corner. And I think, not that is, I think that actually, this may actually help you improve at faster racing games, because you know, the only way to get forward in this game is to really watch your racing line and take it correctly. So it may help you improve with other racing games, I'm not sure. We've got smoke coming out as well, all diesel smoke, which is pretty cool. The whole game is pretty cool. It's quite original. We haven't got anything like this on the PlayStation or the console. We have on PC, of course, but on the PlayStation there isn't really a title like this for truck racing, so it's quite unique in its niche. Look at all the brakes being cooled down. So the brakes will fade and not work the higher they the higher temperature, and we've got a little quadrant for each brake pad as well, so you can see the temperature there. As soon as we spray water in, as soon as we press the brake, it goes up to like 500 degrees, but one little squirt, and that usually brings it down by about 100. Whoa! Force feedback is brilliant. Watch my arms here, look. You can see that it's quite powerful, and unlike something like Formula 1 where you're going so fast, it's not a very fast rumble. It's a very slow, deliberate rumble, so it really does remind you that you are actually racing quite big beasts. Now, isn't this where we went off? Let's see whether the tyre tracks are still there. I'm sure, yeah, there they are, there. So look, it keeps the tyre tracks each time you go round, so that's quite a cool little feature as well. So we're at the Nürburgring, we're in a wet condition, and it's sunset as well, and it looks fantastic. Look at this. I mean, it really does actually look very nice. I just can't wait to start hosting some multiplayer lobbies on this, and getting a bit of nice clean racing in here as much as you can. Don't forget, these are big old trucks, but you don't really want to race like Wreckfest or Destruction Derby. You want to try and race as clean as possible. But as he smashes me. But one of the things, like I say, the thing that you're going to win with here is changing gear at the correct time, being in the right gear as you slow down, and taking that corner through the apex correctly. That's the thing that's going to make you fast in this game, over something like, say, Gran Turismo, which you can get away with certain things because you've got the speed behind you. These have got more torque than speed, 1,000 horsepower, brute monsters. So there's that reminder again from that lovely lady telling us to remind our brakes. You can turn that off if you want to. I quite like having that feature, because if you are driving on the edge, you're going to be, especially over, say, a longer race, you are going to be using up all your water. And once you've used that, I think that's pretty much it. I'm not sure whether a pit stop will refill your water. I will do a much more in-depth review once I've completed a full cycle and we've opened up some options for the garage. But this video is just about showing you what the actual game is, and a few of my thoughts on it. So there are a few performance issues with the console version. If you compare it to the PC version, I don't think it's running at full 60, and it certainly isn't all the time. There's also a couple of bits, like, depending on what truck you're in, funnily enough, this truck that we're in, the rear view mirror, the door mirrors, they're actually quite small, but in some of them they're really big chunky mirrors, and the resolution of the door mirror is embarrassingly low. Obviously the performance has got to be, take a hit somewhere, and I'm glad it's there, not on the actual details of the trucks, but sometimes the wing mirror detail can be embarrassingly bad, and almost off-putting at times. Like I say, on this particular truck, the rear view mirror, and look how close you can get, look, the rear view mirror is quite small, so it's not too much of a problem in this truck. One thing missing, or I certainly can't find, is a look left and right. I need a look left and right button. I feel quite claustrophobic only having that look forward. I want to be able to look left and right. I have had a look through the options. I can't find it. There's that reminder again. Hopefully they put some kind of option in there for looking left and right. When I was coming up against that truck on the right, I want to have a look across and just see what it looks like and see some more detail of this fantastic truck. You can't knock the details in the truck. The trucks are done fantastic. They really are. Oh, and I tell you what, they're not easy. This is not an easy racing game. Look at the force feedback as well. If you look at my arms, the force feedback here is very, look at that, look, it's very, very unique in the fact that where you are quite a big, chunky, slow machine. I know they're not slow, but you know what I mean, in comparison to something like Formula 1. You go over the rumble strips in Formula 1, and the force feedback would be very much like, you know, just a quick one. This is very slow and deliberate, and really gives you the impression of you driving something really heavy. And I think it's done really well actually. The force feedback is fine. I've had to have a little play with the force feedback settings and the steering wheel settings in general on the TGT. I found that the sensitivity wasn't there, so I've pretty much just turned the sensitivity up, but I will be playing some more with the settings, and maybe I'll make a video on that as well, because I know a few other people are feeling that the handling is a bit hit and miss. It certainly doesn't match up to what's going on in the game. If you can see how much I'm moving, the animation isn't set to match within the game, which is a shame, and that can be off-putting because you're turning and the wheel isn't really turning. So I've chosen to have it without the wheel, which, like I say, suits me better, but probably not the stream. It looks like there's something missing in the actual detail. One thing that I am, and I don't really want to use the word disappointed because it's still fine, but one thing I am disappointed with is the sound of the trucks. Now, the actual, the sound of the brakes, the metallic sort of rumbling of the truck, that's all fine. The opponents, everything's fine. The only thing was the actual engine sound. I was really hoping for something a lot more meaty, a lot more of that turbo whine. I was really hoping for something akin to what I've heard for the sound mods you get within Euro Truck. You know, considering this is a truck racing game, a licensed truck racing game, I was hoping for something a little bit more meatier. I mean, don't get me wrong, the sound isn't bad, and the trucks sound good, and the you know, the slowness and the clunkiness of changing gear, everything's fine. Actually sounds not bad from the outside. But inside, you're losing a lot of the sound, and I was really hoping for better sound. But like I say, it's not a game breaker. It still sounds nice, just as not as nice and as realistic as I was hoping it was going to sound. So there you go, everyone. Hopefully you enjoyed this very brief look around FIA European Truck Championship. I will follow this up with a much more detailed review once I've done some more championship and I've gone through the whole season, and I want to look at, in particular, what the tuning and the parts are like. But like I say, you don't unlock that until you've done a full season. So I am going to be playing quite a lot of this on Twitch and streaming it with my lovely community. So if you have got the game, or you're going to get the game on PlayStation, come on over. The link to that is in the first line of the description. But if you've got any thoughts about the game or any questions, anything that you want me to find out for you, leave them in the comment section below. I answer all my comments. So that is it, everyone. Have a lovely day and keep on trucking.